The rain had been falling for hours, turning the narrow streets into ribbons of silver beneath the flickering streetlights, when a small boy, no older than 12, sat under the archway of an abandoned building, clutching a broken guitar as if it were the only thing left in the world that still understood him. His name was Eli, and to anyone passing by, he looked like just another forgotten child in a city that moved too fast to notice its ghosts. But inside that fragile body lived a voice, raw, aching, and beautiful, born from every tear, every lonely night, every whispered prayer that had gone unanswered. Eli had been abandoned at the age of 6, left at a shelter with a note that said only, "I can't do this anymore." He never saw his mother again. He grew up shuffling between foster homes, his heart hardening with every door that closed on him, until he finally ran away at 10, choosing the streets over the silence of places that called themselves temporary homes. The guitar had been a gift from an old man who sold hot dogs on the corner, a street vendor named Marcos, who had seen Eli sitting hungry and shivering one winter evening. "You look like you got music in your soul, kid," Marcos had said, handing him the old, chipped instrument. "Sometimes the only way to talk to God is to sing." From that day on, Eli taught himself to play. He plucked the strings until his fingers bled, played on street corners until he could afford a slice of bread, and sang because silence hurt more than hunger. People sometimes stopped to listen, tourists, tired workers, strangers passing by, but most of them tossed a few coins without looking up. Still, he sang, because singing made the pain feel like something he could control. His songs weren't perfect, but they were real, each one a confession, each note a wound and a prayer stitched together. And then, one night, everything changed. It was the night before Christmas Eve. The city sparkled with lights, laughter echoed from every corner, and yet Eli sat alone beneath the giant Christmas tree downtown, strumming softly to himself. His voice floated through the cold air, trembling and pure. A small crowd gathered, drawn not by the skill of the boy but by the sincerity in his voice. It wasn't just a song, it was a story, a plea, a memory. He sang of loss, of longing, of a mother's scent fading like smoke, of the fear of being invisible. A woman in a red coat stopped, tears glistening in her eyes. A man set down his coffee cup, staring in disbelief. A little girl tugged on her father's hand and whispered, "Daddy, he sounds like an angel." The melody built and broke like waves, and when Eli finished, the crowd stood in silence before bursting into applause. Someone filmed him. Someone else shouted, "Sing another." But Eli simply smiled, a soft, tired smile, and whispered, "That's all I've got tonight." He didn't know that the video would go viral before morning. By sunrise, millions of people around the world had heard his voice. "The street boy who sings like he's from heaven," the headlines read. Talk shows wanted to interview him. Radio stations replayed the clip. Musicians reposted it with messages like, "This kid reminds me why music matters." But Eli didn't see any of it. He was back at his spot, playing for the morning rush, unaware that the world had already fallen in love with his pain-turned melody. When a black car pulled up and a woman stepped out, tall, graceful, her eyes red from crying, he thought she was just another listener. But when she spoke, her voice trembled. "Eli," she whispered. "Eli, it's me." He froze, the guitar slipping from his hands. It was his mother. The woman who had left him years ago, now standing before him, hands shaking as she held out a photo, an old picture of a little boy with the same brown eyes and messy hair. "I've looked for you for so long," she sobbed. "I made terrible mistakes, but when I heard your voice online, I knew it was you. I'd know that sound anywhere." Eli wanted to run, to scream, to ask 1,000 questions, but instead, he just stood there, his eyes full of disbelief. "You left me," he said softly. "You left me when I needed you most." She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I did. And I will never forgive myself for that. I was sick, Eli. I wasn't fit to be a mother then. I thought you'd be safer without me, but I was wrong. I've been wrong every day since." The world seemed to hold its breath as the boy and the woman embraced, sobbing in the middle of the square while strangers filmed the reunion. The video of their hug would become even more viral than his song. In the weeks that followed, offers flooded in, music producers, talk shows, charities wanting to sponsor him. But Eli didn't care about fame. He wanted one thing, to heal, to find meaning in what had happened. With his mother by his side, he began performing in shelters and hospitals, singing for children who felt as lost as he once had. He called his small tour, Songs of Home. Every performance was free. Every lyric came from the same place, his heart. At one show, a young girl in a wheelchair told him, "Your song makes me feel like I can fly." That night, Eli went home and wrote, Wings Made of Pain, a song that would later win awards and change thousands of lives. But behind every note was still the same truth. Pain, when transformed through love, becomes the purest kind of magic. A year later, Eli stood on the stage of a grand concert hall. The same boy who once slept under bridges, now facing an audience of thousands. The lights dimmed, and silence filled the air. He took a deep breath and looked at his mother, who sat in the front row, her hands clasped together, eyes brimming with pride. Then he spoke softly into the microphone. "I used to think I was abandoned. But maybe I was just being prepared to find my own voice, so I could help others find theirs." The audience erupted in applause even before he began to sing. The first note was gentle, trembling, but as he continued, the entire hall seemed to breathe with him. The orchestra joined in, the violins rising like wings, and Eli's voice soared above them all, clear, full, unbroken. He sang about forgiveness, about love's power to resurrect even the most broken hearts. People cried openly, strangers held hands, and for those few minutes, it was as if the whole world stood still. When the final note faded, the silence that followed felt sacred. Then the crowd rose, cheering, clapping, shouting his name. Eli smiled, tears streaming down his face, and whispered, "Thank you." In that moment, he wasn't the abandoned boy anymore. He was a symbol, a living proof that even in the darkest corners of human pain, something divine can be born. The story of Eli became more than a viral video or a song. It became a movement. Music schools opened scholarships in his name for underprivileged children. Communities organized concerts to raise awareness for foster kids. His foundation, Melody of Hope, provided instruments and training to orphans around the world. And every time he stepped on stage, he began with the same words, "This song is for the ones who feel unseen. You are not forgotten. You are the music the world hasn't heard yet." Years passed. Eli grew older, but he never stopped visiting the corner where Marcos once gave him that broken guitar. He repaired it, kept it in a glass case in his studio, with a plaque that read, "Where the Music Began." One day, a reporter asked him, "Do you believe pain is necessary to create beauty?" Eli smiled thoughtfully and said, "Pain is the beginning of understanding. But love is what turns that pain into magic." That night, after another sold-out show, Eli returned home to find a letter waiting for him. It was from the city's orphanage. Inside was a photo of a young boy holding a small guitar, grinning widely. The note read, "He watched your video and started singing again after months of silence. Thank you for reminding him, and all of us, that even broken voices can heal hearts." Eli stared at the photo for a long time, tears blurring his vision, then whispered to himself, "That's what it's all about." In the end, Eli's life was not defined by the night his song went viral, or even by the fame that followed, but by the quiet moments, the hospital visits, the children who found courage through his music, the mother who finally forgave herself, and the street vendor who once saw light in a hungry boy's eyes. His story was proof that kindness given to one lost soul can ripple through the world in ways we can't imagine. From the cold streets to the world's biggest stages, his journey sang one timeless truth, that even from abandonment, love can rise, even from pain, beauty can bloom, and even from silence, a song can be born so pure it melts the hardest hearts. And so, long after the applause faded, after the world moved on to new voices and new songs, people still remembered the boy who sang under the Christmas lights, the one who turned his suffering into symphony, who taught the world that sometimes the most broken hearts make the most beautiful music. For in every trembling note, in every soft breath between words, there lived a piece of Eli's soul, a boy once lost, now found, whose song would echo forever as proof that the human spirit, when touched by kindness, can turn even pain into pure magic.